Marvin, first of all, what do you do with dollar right now?
You know what? I think the dollar weakness trend is something that is gaining a bit of strength, even though it's moved a bit. I think we have to look at all the liquidity that's being put into the system, and it's still making its way into it. And with real yields collapsing, there's not a lot of support for the dollar, particularly around the euro, where at least on some of the plans that they've passed, things are improving a bit.
Are some of the risk assets range bound?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to categorize it. Valuation is certainly very, very high, but they've held in there, and they're able to absorb a lot of the ongoing news with regard to the virus, with regard to China, et cetera, et cetera. And I do think a range-bound type of market is something that we're going to look at going into the end of the summer.
Marvin, the bet that will really affect careers on the buy side is the shift from these 7 tech glory stocks, whatever the number is. Somebody was kidding me on Twitter the other day that it's 6 or it's 7 or it's 9. I don't know how many it is, Marvin. But this one-way bet in the equity market with SPX grinding ever higher versus everything else. When do we get to the everything else?
I think we need clarity on what the economy is going to support. Certainly the amount of liquidity that's in there is making its way into the equity markets. Those bets around, the 6, 7, 10, 12, whatever the number is an easy bet. There are companies that can grow in this market and that are going to be around after that. We don't know what the after that is going to support. Until we're there, I think it becomes difficult to judge that.
Do you believe we will continue to see one day NASDAQ, next day SPX, X NASDAQ? I mean, is this oscillation going to continue through the summer?
Yeah, I think it does, just because the commentary and the degree of uncertainty is still as great as it was months ago, even though we're tens of percents above above from a valuation perspective. So I think that continues as we try to parse through all of this information that's coming at us.
Marvin, how much higher can gold go from here?
Oh, you know what? I mean, it is theoretically there is a limited amount of resources, and it plays into a bit of the concern with inflation at some point in the future, as well as monetary debasement. So it can continue to go higher. I think it's one of those asset classes that becomes a bigger part of your asset allocation as we kind of look beyond, whether it's the next 6 months or the next year before we get clarity.